FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome. You're listening to the Financial Survival Network. It's Kerry Lutz, and we're getting close to tax time, and the things going on in the IRS, just amazing. Hard to believe that refund fraud become an epidemic. Nearly $20 billion a year gets scammed out of the U.S. government, let alone we're talking the waste and inefficiency that the U.S. government is so famous for. With us is Mario Costanz, owned almost 100 tax preparation offices in the country a while back, and he's witnessed the abuses every year and is now speaking out. Currently owner of Happy Tax, a service which provides second income for Americans looking to make money preparing tax returns for their neighbors. Mario, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
So what's going on now with the IRS? Anything worth? Obviously, a lot happening now, isn't there?
It sure is. I mean, there's plenty going on with the IRS. I mean, one of the biggest things that's going on with them right now is their budget cuts. The Congress has repeatedly cut down their budget, and that is, it put them in a position where it's become more difficult for them to combat and work to eliminate the fraud that's going on in the country. And there's a couple times of fraud that is out there specifically. One being out-and-out criminal fraud. There's syndicates that go out and they do identity theft, and they get people's identities, and they fraudulently get refunds in other people's names, and then when those people go to file, they realize that their return has already been filed, and they have to go through a nightmare to get the whole situation rectified. But in the meantime, that money is gone. There are plenty of other types of fraud as well, some of which are earned income credit fraud, which has people that don't necessarily deserve an earned income credit filing and getting that earned income credit because it is a pretty large credit. And sometimes they're doing that on their own. Sometimes they're doing that with the help of tax preparers that are less than scrupulous in terms of the business practices. Right.
Yeah, I've heard about this. So what about this earned income credit fraud? Just tell us how that works.
Sure. So, if someone has a low income, the Earned Income Credit Program is an amazing program to help those people to help ends meet. That's what it was designed for. And in its core, it should be working. However, in many cases, people that have no income may fraudulently file tax returns stating that they have income just to bring them inside that zone where they would get a large earned income credit. And these people may be completely unemployed. They may be on public assistance or other government programs. But if they have children and they file a certain way, they'll get an earned income credit of a couple $1,000. And also a tax preparer who prepared that in many cases will get fees of a couple $100, if not more. And this is not the way what the program was designed for. It was designed to help the working poor and not necessarily the people that are on straight government benefits or just made conscious decisions not to work because they know that they can go and get this large tax refund each year. In many cases, it can be, depending on the state, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 if they have the other types of credits going on their return as well.
And yeah, it's been controversial from the beginning, hasn't it?
Yes, there's definitely always been some pushback on that program because, essentially what it is redistribution of wealth. I mean, the money comes from the middle and upper class paying taxes on what they earn, and the lower income people essentially aren't paying any taxes and they're receiving these credits to help them get by.
Right. So that's one way. Then we've got obviously the refund frauds happening, and hey, there's a reason why Congress has been cutting back IRS funding, though, isn't there?
Well, I feel that it has to do with the recent scandals that the IRS has been involved with, and I think that has definitely kind of been a little tap on the hand to them to say, hey, you guys shouldn't have been deleting emails and targeting certain groups, and hence, you've been a bad boy, and we're going to cut your funding. I don't know that it's necessarily beneficial to the country to do that. I guess that they had some issues there, but ultimately the American public and people suffer if the IRS resources are cut, both in terms of combating this tax fraud, as well as just being there. I mean, the IRS only answers something like 30% of the phone calls that come into them. So if you need help, you really can't even depend on the IRS to get the help in terms of getting your taxes done. And many people do try to prepare those taxes on their own. So in many ways, that funding cut is not helpful to the American people.
Right. So you want to cut the funding in things where they're doing bad things, but don't just cut it across the board where they're giving all this fraud away. And they've never made any effort to cut the earned income tax credit fraud either, have they?
I mean, they've definitely made some changes to the program in terms of there are more audits now than there have been in the past, but there probably should be more. There's definitely ways they can utilize better computer programs to look for patterns of fraud. And, they just don't have the funding to do it.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So what else is going on there where the IRS is just wasting inordinate amounts of money?
The IRS definitely has a very large burden of processing, almost 300 million tax returns, of which 150 million or so are for individuals, the rest are for businesses. So they definitely have their hands full in terms of handling the administration of all that, as well as handling the 700,000 or so tax preparers across the country. So they definitely have a lot on their plate. And the IRS had passed something a couple of years ago to start regulating tax preparers, which I feel would have been of great benefit to the industry as well as to the American public. And that decision was overturned by the courts, stating that the IRS didn't have the authority to regulate the tax preparation industry preparers. So in essence, right now, you don't even need have any certification, any registration. You need a registration alone in order to prepare a tax return, but you don't have to pass any continuing education or any testing. So the IRS has very little ability to stop some of this fraud from a tax preparer perspective as well. And, the American public in many cases doesn't know that their tax preparers are not certified and have no designations or have no requirements for any minimum knowledge levels. So that's one other thing that the IRS should definitely be granted the authority by Congress to regulate and to have, in many states, you need to have a license to do hair, cut hair. And yes, you don't need a license to prepare tax returns with people's sensitive financial information. So in many cases, this will definitely be a help to the industry and also help cut down the fraud, which ultimately saves the American public money. And that's what it should be all about. The IRS's job is to collect the revenue and to make sure that they're not giving it out incorrectly. So this will be a help.
Sure. Hey, well, yeah, it's interesting what you say. You could be the best tax attorney in the world, right? Or you could be the schlockiest tax preparer, at H&R Block, right? I mean, either one, and there's nobody there to tell the difference, basically, right?
That's correct. Yes.
Interesting. So some regulation wouldn't be necessarily a bad thing, huh?
Not in this case, no.
Yeah. So, yeah. And actually, so what else do we need the IRS to do to become more customer friendly, I guess?
Well, like I mentioned, only 30% of the phone calls are being answered. And even when they are, wait times are 2 and 3 hours long. So in terms of just having the staff in order to appropriately be there, the government is asking us to pay taxes, and it's our duty to do that. However, they're not even there to give the guidance to people that need help in terms of getting things done. And sometimes, even if someone's using a tax preparer or a tax professional, or CPA or an attorney, whomever, you still may have a reason to contact the IRS if you need to request copies of forms, or the IRS sent you a letter to request more information. And to have to spend 2 and 3 hours, the lost productivity alone of the American people doing that is just such a negative, and it could be easily solved by just giving some more resources to the IRS. And I'm sure there's some more efficiencies as well that can be found as in any government agency. But overall, the IRS does a good job to get through what they can with the resources that they have.
It is pretty remarkable, the volume of returns that they handle. And a lot of that has to do with technology, right? That they're able to handle the quantities of returns and the complexity.
Correct, yeah. The majority of the returns are electronically filed these days.
Yeah. So that is something that they have managed to really do well, is electronic filing of returns in spite of themselves, right?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So look, their mission, they're not going to be loved, let's face it, but they've got a tough job to do, and they are the agency that everybody loves to hate, right?
Yes. Yep. And most people are afraid of the IRS. It's nobody. That's what drives people to tax preparers. Something like almost 60% of all tax returns are prepared by a tax professional, and remainder is self-prepared. So people don't want to mess up and get caught up with the IRS, because they do have the ability and the right to garnish salaries and freeze bank accounts to use all the money. Now, they don't jump right on that and go extreme unless substantial money is owed and things get to a certain point. However, people definitely want to make sure that they're in compliance with the IRS, and overall, using a tax preparer is very helpful in terms of that in many cases.
Yeah, I mean, you can't, if you've got anything the least bit complex in this day and age, you can't not use a tax preparer, or a CPA, or a tax attorney, right? I mean,
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think of it this way: if someone has a pipe burst in their sink in their kitchen, they could probably figure out a way to do that themselves as well. But they don't. They hire a professional. So why then, when it comes, just because there's some marketing out there that you can do your tax returns yourself, why would you try to do that yourself when you have so much at stake? Not only negatively, but also positively. There's a lot of misdeductions that people miss, and hence they're not getting the size refund that they should be getting if they really did have the tax law knowledge. People should stick to what they know. If you're a carpenter, you should do carpentry. You shouldn't be doing taxes. Just like same analogy in terms of something that you can probably wash your car as well, but nobody washes their car anymore. Car washers. So same thing applies here in terms of just using a professional to get the service done right.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Well, obviously, you're going to want to find out more and get some more info from Mario. Mario, hey, how do we find out more about what you're doing?
So you can check out our website. It's called gethappytax.com. It gives a little bit more information about the company that we're launching. And we're coming out in May, and there'll be franchise opportunities available in the future. And we're looking to help, your average Joe American to increase their income by enabling them to get in the tax business, but not necessarily, try to learn the taxes. Too many people try to get into the tax business, like I mentioned, that don't have the tax experience. So our model is that we do have all 100% of our returns signed off on by CPAs. So our franchisees and our storefronts just have awesome, amazing customer service people. And all the returns are prepared in a remote office by our CPAs that work for us. So you can find out more at gethappytax.com. Leave your information, and we'll let you know as we're launching.
All right. Excellent. Thanks so much for being on, Mario.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.